When you've been brought up in a culture of right versus wrong polarity, how do you navigate your way out of that maze as it's falling apart all around you? Gazit Chaya is here to share wisdom gained from leaving fundamental evangelical Christianity and building a life truly worth living that honors their core values. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is greater than us, to the big mystery beyond the veil, to those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably to a new understanding of ourselves and who we are and what we're doing here on this beautiful planet Earth. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I've been leading these conversations week after week for a decade. And it's been so enlightening, so beautiful, and so transformational to every week bring in a new conversation. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. There's a lot of episodes you can tune back into to get caught up or to just pick and choose what resonates for you, what feels good. And in the moment that we're standing in right now, 2026, early to mid-June, we're really feeling some shifts coming. And by the time this airs on July 11th, I feel like a lot of things will have shifted. So we're in this liminal space of what is coming, what's next, and standing in this moment of what has been and what seems to still be happening, I believe is part of the old story, but it still hasn't caught up to the fact that it's the old story yet. So there's like these wars that are happening around the planet, and there's conflict, and there's us versus them, and there's political fights, and there's people gearing up for fights over politics this coming November in the United States, if you're living in this country. But then there's also lots of unrest happening in all around the world in different places. And it feels like that's the old story. That's the old narrative. And many more of us are waking up to like, wait a second, I think that's how it was, but that's not how it has to be. And having some new ideas come in for us, some new ways of thinking, some new possibilities for how we can embrace what's happening and bring a new perspective to it so that there's a new kind of resolution that's different than what we've been experiencing up until now for thousands of years. And what we've been experiencing up until now for thousands of years is conquest, power over my monopoly pieces. I get to charge you hotel fees. It's my property, not yours. Who does it belong to? You can do that, but you can't do this. I own you. I can do what I want to you. You don't have any rights. Your body's not your own. I mean, I could go on, but we know the game. We know the playbook. We know the matrix. And we're collectively deciding enough is enough. We don't really want to play that game anymore. It's not exciting for us anymore, especially not when you look up into the stars and you see billions upon billions of stars in the sky and all these galaxies and all these infinite potentials that could be unfolding here on planet Earth too. Seems more interesting to explore that. Oh, maybe look inside and explore your sacred geometry, your human design, your patterns you're running through in this life, healing, reconciliation, learning how to be in relationship with other. That seems like that could occupy our time for next 1,000 years or so. So much more to be interested in. And so that's the kind of direction I want to lead us on this conversation with the beautiful, beloved Gazit Chaya. Thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Such a joy. Oh, so did you want me to start right in?
Yeah, actually, I want to tell them a little bit about you. So This is from Gazit's bio. Check this out. Her favorite poem, or the line that she leads her life by by one of my favorite, Rumi. I love Rumi. You guys know how much I love Rumi. This line, out beyond right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Love that. That's like how, because he introduces themselves to us. It's like fantastic. So their first 35 years were spent trying to be good. Anybody else? Trying to be good while navigating chronic anxiety, suicidal thoughts, sensory sensitivity, and social communication mismatches. And then postpartum depression brought them to a rock bottom that became a portal to a place where good was no longer the goal. And this led to a whole new paradigm in which they began creating a life truly worth living, one filled with special interests, plenty of free and unstructured time, and work that is truly aligned. And now Gazit Chaya sojourns with other souls interested in letting go of culture and coming back to self. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. And I feel like you're the right person to have this conversation with.
Thank you so much. It's fun to hear those bios. You put them together and it's different to hear them reflected back. But yeah, what a amazing privilege it is to be living a life that feels like it is the most interesting thing for me right now. You mentioned there's a lot of interesting things out here. We don't have to stay with the thing that we've been doing. And there's something really rare and precious when you realize that we ultimately have permission to create whatever experience we want to have during this life. We don't have to go according to the program. And there's a lot of possibility outside of the program.
Exactly. And it's really just having the courage to follow those inner nudges and that guidance, right? So how did you get on this path of being a person that's all about living your best life and doing what's right for you? How did you do that?
I wish I had been able to have the courage and follow the nudges, but that was not how it went down for me.
Okay. I think a lot of other people can resonate with that right now. So
yeah, I didn't follow any of the nudges and I didn't have any of the courage, and life just like crashed and burned and like smeared me across the pavement. And
it does that, doesn't it?
Yes. And it was not until, I was at the point where I had been sent off to check myself into the psych hospital and been told, like, you might lose your parenting rights, that I really was willing to confront what was going on. I wasn't able to find the resources to choose my life just for the sake of my own life. I think that I was given the resources and the courage when I was confronted with losing my child. That's what it took for me. It wasn't until I was faced with not being able to be a parent anymore, which was the one thing I had ever loved, that I was willing to really look inside and figure out what was going on, why I was so miserable, why I couldn't figure out how to experience having my own separate self. I had been so deeply codependent with first family and religious doctrine, and then with a partner, and even in my parenting, I was really codependent. And so, when I was forced to face it is when I did. And it was a grueling journey back to myself. Took a lot of therapy, a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth, and a lot of opening up to things beyond myself, which was particularly challenging given that I have a lot of religious trauma. So sort of rewriting possibilities in a spiritual sense was a big part of that journey. Super painful, but super worth it.
I can relate to so much of that you just said. I mean, I also did it for my kids. It's almost like I didn't really care so much about my life. But then when I was like, well, wait a second, my kids will be impacted by this. And if I leave the planet because if I unalive myself, it's like, well, then they're going to be without a mother. So like, I can't do that. So I have to figure this out pronto, for them. And I started the journey for them that I eventually went on to find myself back in my own power. Yeah. I think we have to take the journey for ourselves eventually. I mean, eventually it has to flip. We can't be for our kids all the time. It has to eventually come back to us.
Yep. I think seeing my kid as a whole human unconditionally worthy of love and life was what I needed to be able to consider that for myself. I don't think I would have gotten to that otherwise, but I am so grateful and really delighted to be seeing that, like, as I accept my own autonomy, I'm able more and more to extend that to my kid, who's now a teenager and really needs that. And what a gift to be able to be like, oh yeah, we're all completely on our own path and we have the right to experience that path in whatever way, no matter how it affects the people around us. It's our path.
You know, what's so like amazing about the journey is of motherhood, or, you know, birthing babies into the world, is like how much it stirs up inside your body. I feel like they are these light bombs that like go off inside your womb and then just like start blowing apart all the false identity. And while they're in you,
absolutely,
then they're like activating like ancestral traumas and karmas and past life stuff and false narratives that you are holding in yourself. And then like your relationship problems, they can't hide anymore. It's like all of it just blows up.
Absolutely. All of the BS is just obliterated. You cannot do any pretending, any just like make it nice. It all blows out of the water for sure. And actually, I had one near-death experience when I had, are you okay with, you said unaliving at one time. Would you prefer we use that word?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I had an unaliving attempt and I had a near-death experience. But then when I was in labor with my kiddo, I was going like in and out of consciousness and I had a total, I don't know what to call it because it wasn't an NDE, but it was as close to my NDE as anything else I've experienced. And it was like so cosmic and so wild and incredible. And I think, you know, as they come in, they're connected to universal consciousness. And so they're like a portal to that until I feel like they come out. And then, you know, it maybe they're less connected, who knows? But yeah, it was so unbelievable. I was like, the thing that I use to describe both that and my NDE is like, I was as big as the whole universe and I like was the universe. And like, I felt all of that like creative, like cosmic potential that has no morality, like no good or bad in it, like no shame, no fear, no judgment. And I will always be so grateful for my kiddo for giving me that moment because, wow, I was not an individual human when I was in labor. That whole 26 hours were like, I was every birthing human that has ever existed, every birthing animal, like all of life's potential. It was so wild. Oh.
Yeah, and that's only the beginning of that journey because then there's the breastfeeding and all those things you have to confront as a new mother and like, how am I going to handle that? And am I
not sleeping for years?
And for me, I was like, I felt so weird. Like, first of all, I didn't realize my body could do that. You know, like it never did that before. Then it was milk was coming out and the baby was growing on my milk. I kind of blew my mind too that was happening. And
feels
then just like this
powerful.
Sort of really beautiful meditative space that I could get into because I was not a meditator, but like nursing my baby was meditative because I was like rocking in the chair and like he's nursing and he's drowsy and I'm getting drowsy. And I'm like, oh, and I'm feeling so much love for this
You're getting
guy.
Huge doses of oxytocin.
I was just like, woo, you know, like life is great, you know, and luckily he didn't bite me. I've had other mother friends who they got bit, but I luckily did not get bit. But man, he was amazing, you know, and that would only be the only time he was like
into
that.
Their eyes.
The rest of the time he'd be screaming about something or other, but that peaceful time was so reassuring. And I loved it so much that I also did it with my second child, but even for longer, because I was like, this is great, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and then after a while, like I loved it so much, I did an art series on it. Like people posed for me nursing their kids, and then I drew paintings of that, and that actually ended up in the newspaper. So
wow. Like, yeah, for those that are able to have that experience, it can be really beautiful.
It's cathartic. It's like back to your nature, like the nature of your body, not like your mind identity, but like your body, right?
Yeah.
Did you go through something kind of like that?
Oh, yeah. I think that anyone in a assigned female at birth body has a unique privilege of feeling very connected if they're a person who menstruates or if they're a person who has the opportunity to experience pregnancy, even miscarriage, being able to nurse their kid out. Those are experiences that connect us so intimately with nature. And I think it can be difficult to understand the rhythm and creative power of this planet in other ways. I think it's one of the most straightforward ways to connect with that experience. And certainly, there's many people who would love to have those experiences and aren't able to, people who have those experiences and prefer not to. But for those of us who deeply connected with it, it can be an extraordinary opportunity. Yeah, I'm super grateful. I always wanted to birth a kiddo, and it was tough to come by for me because I'm queer and I was poor at the time, and buying, sperm and getting it in is not cheap. But I'm super grateful that my little human chose to come through me.
Yeah. And it's unique, that relationship, right? Like how that soul connection comes in, and that the soul is really choosing the configuration that you're offering and who you are in the world and what your medicine is. Yeah, I love that. It doesn't look like the conventional, and even with the conventional model, it's never conventional. Everybody's situation is weird somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all go through this situation and we're trying to make it look a certain way based on what the system told us it should look like. But then it never ends up actually being that way. And then it's all just a performance instead of actually being just in the moment with what is true for you. I think it's kind of like FOMO. There's like this FOMO, like fear of missing out. If it doesn't look exactly this way, or I can't replicate that somehow, whatever I saw and Leave It to Beaver, or I don't know, like if I can't replicate that, then am I really doing it right? And I feel like a lot of people doubt themselves. Am I really doing it right? I mean, which gets back to our topic of like, how can you even do such a thing as this right? I mean, they basically give you this baby and send you home with you have no skills to take care of this baby at all, but it came out of you. So you get to take it home. And if you're lucky, you went to the mothering classes. I went to those, like where they teach you and you connect with other people who also birthed the baby. And so you have like a tribe. But like without that, I don't know what I would have done because I didn't know what to do. I only did a little bit of babysitting as a teenager. So I really had no clue. It's the most special thing. Sure. Yeah. And you've got to figure out how to keep it alive. It's like, don't let this bundle of joy die. How do you keep it alive? How do you know what it needs? I mean, cries, screams. That's got to be the biggest responsibility that we could have. And even in that conversation is like, nobody gives you a manual for how to do it.
Yeah. I think you're pointing out how that is one of the areas of life where it's easiest to feel crushed by the shoulds, by the right and wrong, by the good and bad. And I think that in a sense, I'm super grateful that my queerness sort of took me outside of ever being able to achieve rightness from square one. I couldn't be right according to our culture starting at the age of 11. Right? I was already out. And I think that permission slip allowed me to then go into parenting already wrong. And when we're already wrong, there's a lot more creative possibility. When we're trying to stick to that image that you mentioned, that leave it to beaver, when we feel like we could align with that, I think it's even harder to walk away from culture, because if you feel like you can, you're going to keep trying. And so I'm super grateful that both my queerness and my neurodivergence have sort of canceled me out from being able to pull off what culture is asking of me. So I can start from the place of, okay, I can't do that. So maybe I'll come up with something else that's worth living for me.
Yeah. And that coming up with something else is going to come from the inside versus like an external system or an external expectation or a book of law that says you have to do it like this. And if you don't do it like this, you're doing it wrong. I mean, as a parent, there's millions of these little moments, like the entire time that your kid's with you. There's no clear cut answer to literally any of it.
Yeah. I tried to do the whole like be organic and attachment parenting and all these things. And I remember the day that I was like, looked up everything that we had in the house because I was so broke and I was trying to find something healthy to feed my toddler. And everything I had was from the food pantry, you know, and it's like all canned and like bleached rice and nothing fresh or organic. And I looked up everything we had and it was like, your baby will die, your baby will die, your baby will die. And I was like, ah. And I remember I looked up that rice was like, I don't know, they said there was like arsenic in it or it was apple juice. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, okay, I've got to set the phone down. I'm going to feed the baby whatever is in this house. And we are just going to go with it because you can find someone who thinks that everything is bad. There is someone out there who has an opinion on anything, even if it's someone out there probably thinks organic is bad, right? So yeah, invitations over and over and over again to be like, hey, can we trust life? Can we trust that maybe there isn't some sort of perfection, even perfect health, perfect spirituality, perfect, all of those are opportunities to just get really stuck and confused.
And speaking of your religious upbringing, I feel it's probably was based in book, right? And in like reading and using the mind to understand such a profound thing as life. Mm. And that stumps me because I was not trained with any of that. My mom was, and she said, we're not doing that.
Did none of it.
I'm not putting that in your minds. And so to me, it's always been kind of foreign. And the few times I picked it up and looked, I was like, this is really obtuse and confusing. Like, what does this even mean?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Then I see, well, why there's like all these groups to study it and figure it out is because nobody knows what it means. It was like, you're just reading it. You're like, well, I think it says this, but I'm not sure. And then somebody else says, well, no, I think it means this because this, and this. And then you could argue like 500 different ways on what it means. When really like the whole point is like, be a good person. You know, like my mom taught me basic stuff. You know, I guess when I was in high school, some boy wanted to date me and he called up and we were having a conversation. He said, well, what are you? I said, a girl? I had no idea what he was asking me.
He was asking about religion.
I didn't know what he was asking. I was like, what do you mean? And then he said, well, no, my mom wants to know what religion you are. And I said, hold on, Mom, what religion are we? And my mom's like, oh, tell them humanist. Because she already knew what they were going to say.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, oh, my mom says I have to go now.
Oh, that must have been a little confusing for you.
It's like, why did he want to hang up when he said I was a humanist? And my mom's like, don't worry about it. You don't want to date him anyway. And I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't understand what it meant, really. I had no clue. But I've kind of gotten more of a clue through my life. And I'm really grateful to my mom for not, because I've met some people like yourself that have said that it's been really traumatizing, unwiring your mind from that stuff. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, you know, they understand now that the first like 8 or 9 years of our life, we're in more of that, I'm going to say it wrong, is it theta brainwave state?
Yeah,
where
I
it's
think
like
so.
We're like a little recorder. We're just listening and memorizing. You can brainwash us, basically. And the point of that in terms of evolution is so that you can get these little weak, dependent, vulnerable beings to learn all the ways to survive, right? So it serves a purpose. It's not like wrong that we have that mechanism, but it opens up this opportunity for people to either brainwash you into a high control system, or to give you the opportunity to begin to be creative, curious, explore, right? And it sounds like your mom had the opportunity through her childhood to offer you the creative exploration option. But for those of us who spent those first 8 or 9 years in high control religions, it's very tricky to undo it. And as we know, the body is so much more impactful on our feelings and our behavior than the mind. The mind is really an assistant. the nervous system and the body are running the show. And when the nervous system has associated, particularly with the branch of evangelical fundamentalist Christianity that I was raised in, there's training around like your thoughts have to stay pure. You can't have any like negative or sinful thoughts, and your emotions have to stay happy and positive. And so to be a human, you're going to have a lot of weird thoughts running through. We all do, right? And you're going to have, like you were talking about earlier, that wave of emotions. We all have all of the positive and negative. And so to be afraid of your own humanity and to feel like your own self essence is flawed and harmful, that it's both a danger to yourself for your long-term salvation and that it's a danger to others because you're going to impact their salvation, it's really hard to convince the nervous system that it's safe to be a person. And for folks who have gone through that, I really recommend that they get professional support with somebody who actually has knowledge and understanding, because you don't want to try to undo that stuff if the nervous system thinks that it's what's keeping you safe.
It's really tricky. And there's also like, my mom was sharing her experience with me because she also is a fundamentalist kind of thing, right? Midwest Texas.
Yeah.
And she said that there was like no questions allowed.
Yep.
Well, that's just shortening your telomeres in your brain. So like your brain's telomeres are basically teeny tiny, which means that you don't know how to deal with any situation outside of whatever it is that is happening to you, which means you're completely ill prepared to meet life's challenges.
That's right. And thank goodness for neuroplasticity. So anyone who hears that and goes, oh no, I'm screwed. Yeah. We, thank goodness, in the past 20 years have learned about neuroplasticity, and there is so much we can do. And that somatic work, that nervous system work, that's why I am interested in that and use it in my work, because it can feel very defeating coming from that background to feel like I'm stuck, I'm brainwashed, it's hopeless, I'm going to be living with trauma the rest of my life, I'm going to have to keep telling these stories in therapy for decades at a time. And thankfully, we are learning that there's so much that we can do somatically. We're relearning it because all ancient wisdom traditions used somatic practices, right? They weren't focused on cognitive. People were breathing and dancing and meditating and creating together to process through their trauma and to open back up to self. So
it just seems like such a huge journey from like this idea that there's some angry male god in the sky that's going to punish your ass and send you straight to hell and burning flames, to like the recognition that many indigenous people already come with, which is like, no, we're on Mother Earth and she loves us and she provides for us and she holds us through all of our lessons and she has our back. And she, unlike sometimes in the patriarchal, these religions where the moms look the other way and they let their children be molested and all kinds of terrible things. Yeah. And they don't stand up for them. That's the one thing I'm really glad my mom grew up in that environment, but something in her was like, no. She just showed up like as a no person. She's like, no, I don't think so. I don't know how she maintained that in the middle of a town that was, but she's no. And then she also during that time is the only one that, very few women walked away from marriages. My mom was like, oh no, he's going to molest her. My natural father was, very wounded person, very generous, kind, but also wounded from childhood, right? And not healed. And he was going to molest me. And my mom was like, not on my watch. And she ran away with me. And then she left a second husband after he beat the crap out of her for many years. So
what an incredible human.
She's a badass, basically, and she's powerful. She's like, no, you're not going to do that on my watch. I'm taking my kid. Yeah. Hid me from my natural father, hid me from the second one, because obviously he was retaliatory. And then found my dad, who was like an awesome. So the third time was the charm. She got an awesome relationship. Number 3, a total soul connection. Beautiful man.
I gotta read her memoir.
Oh, she's writing it right now, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She's writing her story, which is so great. But that's my mom. And my mom was just that this isn't right. She's splenic, she had the splenic, So can you imagine?
No.
I
I
mean,
can't.
amazing.
When I meet people who have walked away from the church and they're not queer, I'm like, how did you do it? And who walk away from marriages, I wouldn't have had the courage to leave Christianity. I had to get kicked out. I wouldn't have had the courage to leave a very dysfunctional marriage. I had to get kicked out. But thank goodness they kicked me out because I needed to be out. But gosh, what an incredible life your mom has had the opportunity to lead. I can't wait to read the memoir.
I know, right?
Please put me on the waiting list.
This is a shout out to my mom. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's so important because I had the mother I had, it's almost inconceivable to me that there would be a mother that wouldn't stick up for her kid. But so in order to teach me that point, my soul guided me through a series in my life where I was a yes person, where I was like, didn't want to cause a conflict. I didn't want to fight him. I was just trying to keep the peace. I was like, all the strategies, pleasing, controlling, manipulating situations so that it wouldn't go a certain way, protecting, rescuing my kids from this. And just like, it's not like he was a terrible person, but just some of the same themes came through in a lesser way, right? But I still had to contend with it. And I was like, I was not the strident person I am today. I actually went very deer in the headlights. Like I didn't know. Fawning. Like I didn't know what to do. And I just wanted it all to go away. But we're facing a time now when we can't just do that. We can't just do that. And also many of us don't really want to go to war. So what's the solution? So I'm just going to throw that your way, because
I know.
I mean, it's a huge question. Okay.
No, I don't. No one knows the solution. But what's interesting about those fawning, biting, freezing, all the different nervous system responses, they just let us know what our capacity is. And taking care of our capacity is the one thing that we do have a say in. We don't individually have so much of a say in whether we go to war or not. But we do have a say in taking care of our capacity so that if and when we are in that position, we are able to offer our presence and our love and our open hearts and our working hands to be in that situation in the way that aligns most with our values. Something that often happens is when we're very low capacity. Let's say we haven't been sleeping, we haven't been eating, we haven't been offering gentle movement to our bodies, we haven't been connecting with our senses and with nature. When we're just worn out, we are less likely to act according to our values. Those are the times when we're going to be irritable, we're going to snap, we're going to, make choices that don't line up with who we really want to be. And when we're able to really spend the time and energy to take care of this one animal that we were put in charge of, then we increase our capacity and we're more likely to show up according to our values. That's always going to vary according to the environment. Of course, if there's a natural disaster or a loved one dies or we get sick or have disabilities that cause fluctuating resources, it's not totally in our control, but we can do what we can do. And I think in those powerless moments, I like to come back to okay, I was given this animal. I'm in charge of this animal as best as I could tell. Let me feed it. Let me give it naps and good night's rest when I can. Let me take my medication if I'm prescribed it, right? Let me spend sweet times in nature as much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And how we speak to ourselves is really important as well. Like the frequency with which we speak to ourselves. This has been such an ongoing process for me because my early childhood was so tumultuous. Even though I had a mom that would stand up for me, there also was a lot of conflict and there was fighting and there was violence. And that early life for me was filled with a lot of that till about 5, so that's a lot of programming. And so the way I talk to myself also has changed through this work. The somatic embodiment work you're talking about, shamanic healing work is very much somatic work, childhood healing, getting in your body. It's actually being safe to be in your body. And a lot of people that are in these really authoritarian systems, they're afraid to be in their body, rightfully so, but they're being told about it. So they kind of hanging out throat up and like their spirit's kind of floating above the body. They're not actually in the body, which means that they're disconnected from the whole experience of being human, which means they're not in their hearts either. And so like, I try to explain that to myself sometimes when I see the cruelty. It's like, you can't, your self-image says this. It's very narcissistic. It's like, my self-image says this about me, therefore I must be that. And I can't admit any other possibility that's messy, because then I would go straight down there to hell. And it's like, wait a second. What if you just get in your heart and feel? Because when I was out of my heart and I couldn't feel, and I was taking the not feeling pills, that was when I did the most terrible stuff, because I couldn't feel it.
You didn't have the capacity, right, to make decisions. You were just in that reactive, scared part of your brain. And that's where violence comes from. It just means you either have low capacity or you're scared. If you're fighting or you're running away or you're fawning, that's all it can be. Low capacity or scared. So how do we care for violent people? We actually don't care for them by fighting them or trapping them or locking them up. We care for them by increasing their capacity, take care of their animal body, give them all the sweet things that we'd want to give ourselves, and helping them to not feel scared. And in white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, everybody feels scared.
Yeah. It's actually a field of fear. I've had some other friends of mine I've had conversations with who have been leaving the country to go to other places. And then every time they come back here, they're like, Carrie, it's like a field of fear around the entire country.
Yeah, it's intentional. It's a form of control, and it's very effective. If you make the masses afraid, then they are more easy to control. And like you said, the way that we have a relationship with ourselves is what we are going to experience outside of ourselves. So if we want wars to end outside of ourselves, we really need to consider ending the wars inside of ourselves.
And that's like really contending with the judgments that we have inside of ourselves, contending with those places. Like if I'm going to judge another, I need to come back inside myself, do the healing work on myself so that I can open up some compassion, find that place within my own heart that I can have compassion for someone. And, you know, as I've been doing that work, because when this whole thing started, I was like with the tobacco, blowing smoke on literally everything. Like, this is out of alignment. That's not true. This is terrible. You know, and I was like, tobaccoing literally everything I was seeing in the media, like, no, 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 no. And I was like, not going to have it. And as I've gone through this process, as we all have been going through this process, witnessing what we're witnessing, seeing it, it was like, okay, now I have more understanding. Now I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand why the behavior, like where it comes from. Okay, then opening my heart, having more compassion. And then just serendipitously getting seated right next to somebody who's like in that thing. And then the conversation that gets started. And can I keep my heart open when I feel their instant fear?
That's right.
It's like, okay, I'm going to keep my heart open and just ground this person, you know?
Yeah.
Like heart coherence, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Can I keep my heart open? I think is the biggest question that we are being asked right now. Can you love even in these spaces? Because if the answer is no, you can't expect them to either.
Exactly. And that's the personal work. That's the capacity conversation you were talking about. You have the capacity to be present with yourself and your value system and an opposing value system and person at the same time. Can you have capacity for both? Doesn't mean agreeing with the other. It means like actually just holding loving space that you understand how they came to those conclusions.
That's right. To let go of the judgment, you don't need to let go of the boundary though. So some people think that having compassion and letting go of the judgment means that we hang out with people who are being violent. No. You know, I like to say if someone's in their alligator brain, I just think of them like an alligator. I wouldn't jump into a alligator pond and be like, oh, I know why you're biting me. It's because you're an alligator and I understand and I love you, and just let myself get eaten, right? No. I would be out of that pond. I would be getting a good distance between us. I'd be speaking very low and I would be trying to back away if I'm with an alligator, right? We don't have to hang out with or celebrate the alligators, but we also don't need to judge them, because if we are bitten by an alligator, we're not like, oh, that was a bad, evil alligator. We're like, oh yeah, Alligators
That's an
fight.
alligator.
Yeah.
That's what alligators
designed to do.
Yeah, I like the alligator reference because then that also matches with the reptilians.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it's reptilian energies,
and it gives us that opportunity to say, okay, they're just wired to be reptiles. And so what would I do around a reptile? I wouldn't try to talk the reptile out of being a reptile. I wouldn't hang out with them. And I also wouldn't judge them, right? I'd be like, you have a place in this system too. And I'm going to make sure that I take really good care of myself and I send love your way.
Yeah. And I'm going to go hang out with the other deer who don't like this kind of thing.
Yeah. As much as we can. And every now and then an alligator's going to come in and get somebody, right? And then we take care of them and we, again, figure out, okay, can we put some more space between us and the alligator and also leave space for the alligator, right? We don't need to go around killing them because for whatever reason, we live in a yin and a yang. This world is based on the premise of separation. And so pain comes with pleasure and gain comes with loss. It is a part of this algorithm so far.
Yeah, it's what we're contending with. And I like the shamanic traditions. I love because they teach us to walk the middle way. It's like embrace it all. Yeah. And like that's what I love about what you said too, because it's that same kind of thing. It's like neutralize, but also let yourself feel the whole range. That Rumi poem, The Guest House, which is like my favorite poem, is all about embrace everything that comes, embrace the anger, the hostility, the grief that, washes your house clear so that you can have some new joy. And we're here for all of it. And I think that the more we can recognize that we're here for all of it, the better off things will be, less war coming from at least those of us who are conscious to it and awake to it, right? And we're spirit. So that knowing of yourself as spirit also helps because if they do make a war and then you blow up, you know that at some point you're going to recycle and you'll come in and do another life. So it's a bummer because you really put a lot of investment in this one. That sucks. And you're going to have another one. So it's like, all right, well, then you can just be in acceptance of whatever unfolds.
Can you have that open heart even to death? And I think that's a question mark that even in a lot of spiritual circles, people don't connect with. Are we open to death, disability, sickness? Because those things inevitably are coming for all of us, unless we have a early death where we didn't experience any aging or disability. But most of us are going to age and become less able and die. And can we bring that open heart to all of that?
Yeah, to the whole experience and staying steady through it. Yeah, and all of these things are required. Otherwise, they wouldn't be happening because otherwise it's kind of like arguing with reality.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I just keep being like, if I get a chance to talk to whoever programmed this game, I will let them know that I would do some things different, but it might turn out that I'm the programmer and then I'm just going to be arguing with myself. So as long as I'm here, I'll just play the game.
Yeah. And we are flipping the game. So we have had a certain experience for thousands of years and we all collectively agreed we're going to have a different kind of experience. It's in the process. It is unfolding. It is happening, which is why everything's been so freaking cray-cray.
Yes.
And so because we have to wrap up the Monopoly game before we can, start playing the next thing. So yeah, Monopoly is really tense at the end. I mean, when you've had a family gathering and like somebody are battling with somebody else over Monopoly.
I do not think it's fun.
It's so stanky. Like that's like everybody just wants to get up from the table because they're just like, this is not fun anymore. This is, and that's kind of where we're at. We're at the stinky family Monopoly game. It's like, and then somebody brings a pie and they're like, can we just have pie now instead?
Yeah.
Like,
we're too tired.
Can we just have the pie?
It's so funny because I have cross of planning. One of my crosses is cross of planning, but I have no connection with cross of planning. I'm so excited for Cross of Sleeping Phoenix. Let's go.
Yeah, let's move on from this stanky game. So I think we all pretty much agree there. I mean, a few outliers that don't, obviously, but I think that most of us agree. And we are moving into the new thing. And so hopefully by the time this is published, we already have. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Because this will be like a message from the past.
It's
like,
coming.
Remember
Either way.
back just a month ago when it was still like this? And then all of a sudden it changed. And by the time this aired, we're actually having a time capsule back to before it happened. And that's a really cool idea. And I'm just going to set up that whole idea with us right now that could be possible. But time July 11th rolls around, that like the whole thing is shifted. And people are like, wow, this is a cool time capsule to the past.
It'll be one way or another. It'll be a cool time capsule of the past.
So I love this conversation. This has been fun. And so is there anything else you want to invite people to, like to get to know you better?
Oh, well, I'd love to connect with anybody who wants to have any of these kind of conversations. I have free inquiry calls where really I could just like get to know everybody. And if people end up being interested in the work, of course, that's always an option. But if anyone just even doesn't have someone to have these kind of conversations with, I always invite people to reach out. And then I have a YouTube channel and there's lots of free resources on there, tons of stuff about the nervous system, how to take care of yourself and your capacity. And both of those are the Rooted Co-op. So the rootedcoop.com for my website, you can just hop onto my calendar and get a free call. And then YouTube at the Rooted Co-op for the YouTube channel.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put those links in the show notes below too, so you can check them out there. Thank you for having this beautiful conversation, Gussie. Appreciate you. And we're going to wrap up with some Reiki kisses if you want to join me in giving those. And right before we give them, we're going to ask you, always do, like, share, subscribe, share this out with somebody who might need it today, who might need a little pick me up, or like this exact conversation is what they need to hear. Share it with them, help them out, and hopefully they'll connect with Gussie and have a beautiful time. So we love you, and here come your kisses. Okay, here they come. Everybody love you. Much love. Have a great week. We'll see you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now. If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken, Soul Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar, from the source of who you are.